Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out. Sure do appreciate it. Sure do appreciate it. Welcome. This is the Meet the Candidates event, sponsored by the Water Valley Business Alliance. We'd like to thank Mechanics Bank for offering the use of this room tonight. I think it's going to turn out perfect. Acoustics are good. We didn't need to have a sound system. We don't need to shout. It's going to be it's a nice room, and we really do appreciate Mechanics for that. We appreciate the Water Valley Business Alliance as well, having the idea to give everybody a chance to meet the candidates. Bob's going to record it, and anybody who wasn't able to make it will be able to see it online as well. So that's a great thing. It really is. Especially like to thank the candidates running for mayor. I'll introduce the candidates one by one for you. Alderman Donald Gray, Mickey Howley, Terry Burkett, and Herbie Rogers. Thank you guys. We really do appreciate y'all coming out. Rules of the evening are simply for time management. This isn't a debate. This is just simply a chance for you to be well informed. We've got 4 questions that were submitted that we thought would be good general questions to let everybody get to know the candidates. I'm going to give them 5 minutes, give or take, to answer the questions. Of course, we're not going to cut anybody off, but we will remind that tonight, time is an issue. So please, if you could. An event like tonight, it's very important. I feel, there's nothing more important than a well-informed electorate. It's a powerful thing, and this is part of that. No matter who you vote for, it's important to be informed and to vote. And so, thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Water Valley Business Alliance. This is a good event. Without further ado. Oh, I will say this. If we do get through it in time, and any of you have any questions that you'd like to ask, I'll let you know that we do have time for that, and we'll get a couple of questions from the public if that's a possibility. So keep that in mind as well. All right. First question is going to be for Donald Gray. Will start, and then we'll go in order. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing Water Valley, and what do you intend to do about it? And if you'd like to come up and speak here, or stand there, that's up to you.
You want to come?
Yeah.
I thought about that question a lot, and I thought, well, what would people think? Economy, job, education. No. I think the biggest challenge we have right now in this city is we don't have unity. I mean, read some of the things that are published in the paper, document, because a lot of times some of you may be writing these articles. We're attacking each other. That is not the Water Valley I'm moved to. I've been in business here about 34 years. I had the experience coming here just a few months prior to the tornado hitting Water Valley. People in this community work together like you've never seen. Rebuilt this town. So our biggest problem is, folks, we have got to be Water Valleyans, not newbies. I don't care if you've been here 1 month or 90 years. I would represent you, the people of Water Valley. But the only way we know your concerns, I look around, and very few have ever contacted me about any problems. We see, excuse me, down in the sciences, we see some problems from just riding around. But come talk to us. Whether it's any of these men, whether it's me, any of the aldermen, come talk to us. Don't blast in the paper, please. That just drives that wedge deeper and deeper till we work together. Water Valley will not improve in the economy. Somebody want to locate a business here, read some of these things? Are they willing to come from the outside and invest their money here? You want to get young people to move here with children if we're blasting our education system? Then the best thing we can do is get behind these things and get behind our schools. I taught in public schools for 6 years prior to coming into the insurance business. I know some of the challenges. I have a son that's in the education business now. It's not easy, folks. Some of the environments that our kids come from today in the school system, I know I'm probably jumping ahead on some things, but all these questions relate to each other, really. But my biggest concern is, folks, let's get together, no matter who the mayor is, no matter who the aldermen are. Let's quit cutting our town down and let's build it up. And let's do it together as one group. Not, hey, they just came here, or I've been here 90 years. We all came here and we made this our town, so let's make it better. Thank you.
Nick?
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Water Valley Business Alliance for putting this on, especially Cliff Lawson. He asked me to come help him move some chairs, and I declined. But thanks for turning up. Cliff is doing the work. I tell you, I think the biggest issue facing Water Valley is the biggest issue that faces everybody here, there, around the country. And to quote another bald man from Louisiana, it's the economy. The economy drives everything. I'll just give you some examples. The local economy drives things like the quality of our schools, the level of city services, the value of our property, and the safety of our town. If we don't have money, we don't have anything. And that's what we really need to work on. We always need to work on the economy. I think if you see what's happening here in Water Valley in the last 10 years, we have been the poster child in the state of Mississippi for the creative economy, but we've also worked on the real economy downtown. In the last 10 years, we've added 90 jobs to this main street. We've brought in 27 new businesses, and those are people that were here already and did startups mainly. We've done 35 renovations, and it's been $10 million of private dollars invested in this downtown because people believe in this town. They put their money where their mouth is. Otherwise, they go someplace else. It's that simple. What's happened is established businesses are doing better, and you don't only have to look at this particular building and see what's happened. Mechanics Bank had the faith, here's Tyler right now, speaking of mechanics. Mechanics had the faith to go ahead and invest in this main street. There is no other local owned bank in the state of Mississippi investing on their main street. They're all on bypasses and they're all out on subdivisions. That was a big leap for mechanics, but sometimes it's the really small things that make a difference. Mr. Turnage told me just the other day to add to that $10 million list the $5,000 he spent on his floor in the front of his business. So it's always the little things. That's what we've been doing. Incremental, sustainable, and keeping it going. That's how we're bringing the town back. But listen, it's not on Main Street, okay? So economic development has 3 legs. This may sound like a little boring lesson, but I'll give you a very quick thing on economic development. Economic development works this way. You need 3 legs to support it. It's like a stool. If one of the legs goes, it falls down and you don't have stability. Support and grow existing businesses. Encourage and help local entrepreneurs. And third, attract outside businesses and industry. Now, we've done a pretty good job with 1 and 2. And that's what's gotten us a lot of attention, locally, regionally, and nationally. But number 3, that big economic, that reach out, that go to Jackson, to go deal with economic entities is really the mayor's job. The mayor's job has to be the salesperson for the city of Water Valley. In that respect, I think I've done a pretty decent job. I've been doing a pretty decent job. I've worked with 26 different economic agencies that are local, regional, state, and national. And working with those people, it's that kind of like working together as a liaison between what's going on here and these economic development agencies. But when I do that, I've been an advocate, I've represented you, and it's been, for me, the greatest honor. I think we can continue that, but the position of mayor is really the position that we need somebody to sell this town to other people and keep it going.
Hello, and thank everyone for coming out. The main issue facing Water Valley to me is jobs and affordable housing. There's at least 50% of residents that live here in Water Valley that make less than $30,000 a year. Most houses that are being built here is selling for $120,000 or more. Off of $30,000, a lot of families can't afford it, especially if they have children. There's a lady that I personally know, she's determined, honest, and she's a single mother of 3 children. She was driving back and forth to Batesville for work. Her car broke down, she lost her job, and she had to go and apply for government assistance, which is not enough to support her as a single mother along with her 3 children. If we have more jobs here in our city, she wouldn't have to travel outside for work. If we support our local businesses here, as well as those who's looking to create business, we will be able to build revenue in our town and among each other. As Alderman Gray said, that a lot of us have worked together when crisis comes. And right now, in my vision, there's a crisis going on, and we do need to pull together, and we need to sow into each other and to develop this community. When I grew up as a child here, we had tons of stores down here. We had tons of grocery stores. We had Wright Groceries, we had Johnson's, Mr. Taylor. We also had Stubbs. We had TWL. We had the train. There was a lot of things here. And we had more in the 70s and 80s than what we have now in this 2017. So my answer would be to bring more jobs in and affordable housing. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the Business Alliance for putting this on, and especially want to give a special thanks to the people that's here. The people that here, I realize, and I think everybody in this room realizes, that they care about Water Valley and what happens to Water Valley in the future. And that's why I'm here, okay? The biggest challenge, it says, I don't see a biggest challenge. What I see for Water Valley, I'd like to say that there are many needs and opportunities for improvement, okay? We have a foundation for the most part, just have to build and improve on it. I don't want the people of Water Valley to get the impression that we are desolate and losing the town. We're not. We're strong. We can stand together and be stronger. This is a great town with good people that understands that they now, as ever before, need a strong leader. It's going to take a strong leader that will do everything in his power to enforce what is already here and making things happen to better our already wonderful town. This is a town that needs some improvements, but we are far better than some other towns in the state of Mississippi, if you look around. As I stated nearly 4 months ago in my campaign, change is the word that we need for a better Water Valley. We have made some changes, and it's been good. I believe Water Valley is at a historic crossroad, and the decisions we make over the next few years will have a far-reaching consequences. Today's city leaders are too often influenced by special interests. I will commit to implementing a comprehensive plan developed and led by our planning department and the citizens of Water Valley. Ideas and action steps in the plan focus on the citizens, the people, instead of business and places. The people of Water Valley deserve to have a beautiful, safe, fully functional environment that includes living wage jobs, strong schools, good streets and sewers, and social attractions that draw people of all ages to live and work here. While the issues might seem overwhelming, I know that we have the right resources and the will and determination we can, as a unified Water Valley, we can realize a great future. Thank you.
Okay, the next question will be directed towards Mickey, and then again, in order answered. Describe your plan for maintaining and upgrading the city's physical infrastructure: water, sewage, electric, roads, sidewalks, signage, etc.
I read this question, and it said, describe your plan on fixing what's broke. And as a person who's been a mechanic in my past life, and fixed a lot of things in terms of cars, vehicles, buildings, and downtowns. The question is not how do we fix things, but who fixes them. If you have to fix something, you need a person, you need a mechanic, you need a technician, you need a plumber to fix what's broken here. And we have, in the city of Water Valley, a great crew in our city departments. They're strong departments, but they've been neglected, like the infrastructure. And that's what we need to do. We need to give attention to the people that have been here, that have worked, that have gone literally over a decade, in some cases without a raise, and continue to work for the city. It's a tremendous crew. I've worked with them over the last decade here, and to a person, they're great. But they need support, they need an increase in their income, and they need training, frankly. They need to be appreciated, and they need their skill sets to improve as well. The thing is, we're in a patch mode at the moment with infrastructure. You saw the power that went out recently, and water leaks in the street, we're patching things. And the city's got to a certain point where the infrastructure is failing. We need to go and bring it back to the point where we're not patching stuff, but we're maintaining stuff. If you have a vehicle, you know fully well it's cheaper to change your oil than to replace your motor. That's what we need to do. We need to get back on a maintenance program that's steady, rigorous, and determined, and not be patching stuff and just knee-jerk reacting to when things fail. That's what's the important thing that we're doing. There's an immediate safety issue I'd like to address, and that's with the police and fire. And this is probably the most important thing because people want a safe town to live in. Normally we have 13 people on a police department. We currently have 7. Our fire department, we normally have 8 people. We're running 4, only 2 are certified. It's a real problem. And what will happen in terms of insurance is right now we have a number 7 fire rating in the city. If the fire marshal comes this way and assesses the city, it'll go to a 10. And what that will mean for you is a significant increase in your insurance. So that is something we need to address immediately. But the bigger problem is, let's support the people that are working here, let's train them, and let's pay them properly. Okay.
In order to maintain the problems that's going on with infrastructure here, we have to be able to acknowledge and identify it. Since I've been out campaigning, starting back in May, there was citizens that went in their homes and bought out letters that was dated 8, 10 years ago saying that they have mailed this in and this is my problem and it still needs to be done. And it's not done. So I would suggest to identify the 5 major problems in each ward. We have one budget to work with. So after we identify those 5 major problems, we fix those problems. Example, in Ward 1, is the major problem there is the sidewalk, we would do the sidewalk. Ward 2, if it's the sewage, we will focus on the sewage. But we will do this gradually each year to make sure that everyone gets taken care of because everyone pays tax dollars here. And we all want our homes, our sidewalk, and our community that we live in nice. We had a few citizens that came into the board meeting about 2 months ago. One lady was complaining about the water pressure in her toilet that had been not flushing for about 5 years. And she was like, when I come downtown, when I go in and I flush it, that thing zoom and go all the way down. So we want to treat everyone equally. We want to use the budget for everyone. In order to do that, we have to acknowledge it, identify it, and fix it. Thank you.
Describing the infrastructures, I'm not going to go into details on all the problems that we have with our infrastructures. I think if you live in Water Valley, you pretty well know the problems that we're having that's going to have to be addressed. And again, good leadership is going to be the answer to getting those addressed. You've got to have the funds to do it with, but you've got to be able to appropriate the funds where they need to be on a priority basis, okay? And like I said, we also know that there are parts of our city that does not even have water and sewer available to them and people. You know, this is 2017. It's not in the 50s. 50s we could kind of go along with that. But this is 2017. We need to step up in the world. We need to get water. We can do that. And if you live in the city, we realize that our infrastructure as a whole has declined drastically, and which has to be addressed on a priority basis. Each item in this question has some issues that has to be addressed. But how do we address it? Do we have the funds to do it? If we had the funds, why aren't they already fixed? So we're going to have to reach out. We're going to have to reach out and look to see, number one, to see how much money we do have that we can appropriate to each one of these issues that we have, and can we afford to fix it? And if not, how are we going to get the funds to do it? Everything costs money. We got to have money to do it. So, you know, there's things that we can look at. We can look at state and federal grants that can be explored to help us out. Mississippi is good with the grant programs. We need to, I call it, snatch as many of those as we can, okay? That will help. State and federal grants, okay? Now, if everything else fails, I believe if you brought forth to the people of Water Valley that here's our problems, here's our issues, and the only way that we can resolve these issues and get them fixed is a tax hike. Now, don't want to do that unless it's necessary, but that is an option, okay? And I will explore that option if I am mayor. Thank you.
Deal with some of these areas in our infrastructure. We all know that we have an aging infrastructure. Our town is there. Let me tell you some things we've done in the last 8 years. 2 years ago, we spent $600,000 on our main sewer line starting south of town, came up to Fred's parking lot. The 20th of this month, I signed a contract with another company after we received another grant with our alderman's permission there, and they've been made a temporary. And I signed a contract. We'll start a $459,000 project extending that sewer line from Fred's up, crossing Main Street at Church Street, crossing Martin, up Railroad, north of the First Baptist Church where it comes back out to Central. Why, you know, that's all underground, right? But what that does is that allows our sewage to flow, people. That will be 2/3 of what we call the main trunk line will be new. That relieves the pressure off all these areas of town. It allows that sewage to flow where it needs to be. So we've done that through grants. You know, we talk about grants. The ARC and the Community Development Block Grants has been good to Water Valley. And we're going to apply for every one of us out there every time they become available. But that's just what we've done in the sewage department. What we've done in the streets. Well, this year, we budgeted $190,000 of our local tax money for streets. That may not sound like a lot of money, and it doesn't go far. When you start buying asphalt and laying it at $100 a ton, it won't go far. But so far, we have overlaid 6 of our streets this year. We have one more major project to go. I don't know if we'll get it done in this year. We'll get it done in this budget year. I'm trying to think of some of the streets. From Lafayette down to Central is one of the streets. McFarland Street, Thornton Cove, some of the streets that we've overlaid. In the past couple of years, the Main Street project that we did 2 years ago was $250,000 just in that little short strip. So streets are a big, big cost, and we will continue to budget for streets each year. And that, you very seldom get a grant for streets. I would love to get one, but you can apply for them, but that's a hard one to get. But we do budget each year for streets. The water. Right now, we have just signed a contract redoing one of our water tanks. It's a $233,000 project. We try to do each tank at least once every 10 years, and this is kind of to help with the health department specifications that are on us for our water purification. The one on West Lee Street is the one that we're in the process of doing a contract on it. Again, most of that money came from an ARC and a community block grant. We do have an in-college sharing of that. Somebody may have to correct me, around 40,000. I can't remember the exact figures on that. That comes out of our water department. We do have affordable water. Some people say, we have the cheapest water around, why don't you raise the rates? Because those rates come directly out of somebody's hip pocket. And we have a lot of people in our town that do work and live from paycheck to paycheck. So I don't like to raise any rates unless it's absolutely necessary. And right now, our water department is working well. Some of the other things you may not be aware of in an electric department. I know when electricity goes out, everybody, that's the first call everyone's going to get. We do have an agent there. Over 2 years ago, we entered into a little agreement with Tallahatchie Valley. Now, we purchased our power from TVA, Tennessee. But we entered into an agreement with Tallahatchie Valley some 2 years ago. They wanted some land out in the industrial park to build a substation. So the agreement was, if they would build that substation, they would run a line to us so we would have a backup for the system. We hope we're within about 4 or 5 months of that totally being finished. There are some legalities that we still have to jump through on some leases where we have to put some transformers. But Tallahatchie Valley has already built the line. Many of you may have seen it come across Highway 7 up by the hospital. That's the line that we will tap into. So when we do have a major outage or something, we could tap into Tallahatchie Valley to give us 2 sources of power so we won't be on this island. TVA themselves is working with us on doing some improvements on some of the lines that they bring into us. A lot of times when we have an outage, it's because of the outage that the power that comes to us. Our electric department, I'll put them guys against anybody. I held a flashlight one night in my yard for them so they could get up there with a spotlight and work in the dark and the transformer blown and stuff like that. Those guys go out in all kind of weather and they're second to none. I know my time's probably running out. Airport, we made improvements out at the airport. A lot of people say airport, but yeah, we have an airport. And we've spent a lot of money out there over the years. A lot of this has been through grants also. We built T-hangars, where somebody said they'll never be full. They're full, and we have requests for other hangar space now. We built what we call a fuel farm, where they can fly in, fuel up. We have some people that fly out every day from out there. One particular person comes from Oxford, fills up here and flies to Jackson. Things like that. We're expanding the apron out there now, so that will give us additional space for hangars and like that. Yeah, our infrastructure, it needs work, but the old thing, saying is, how you eat an elephant one bite at a time, and that's all we can do is one bite at a time. We can keep our infrastructure going. And we do have the best department these guys work hard, and I will make one little correction. We did give all of our employees a raise last year, and also our fire lady, there's a town that is much, much, much larger than this town that has one paid fire person, and that's the chief. The rest of the department is purely volunteer, and they are a town class 4, and we are a 7. So I don't think we're in need. Do we need more firemen? Yes. I talked with the chief this week. He's actually been interviewing this week. Our police also, our chief has interviewed 2 people this week. We'll probably be discussing in the next board meetings. But again, we have all work together, and our departments do the very best job they can do. Thank you.
Okay, third question, we'll start with Terry. If you have a plan for bringing more business to Water Valley and increasing the city's revenues, explain how you will accomplish that. If current revenue sources are not adequate to bring personnel staffing levels to an adequate level and to make required infrastructure improvements, would you support a tax increase?
I feel that there would be no need for a tax increase because there's major companies that have shown interest in our small town and want to bring business here. Had, for whatever reason, some of the business have not been allowed to come in here, we would have the revenue that we're seeking and lacking right now. One of the good things about living in a small town is instead of working for the chain, you have the opportunity to be the owner yourself. And we do have business owners here that we need to invest in the business that here. We have people here that's looking to create their own business and become business owners, and we need to give incentives for those companies. We also will be searching the database for companies that's looking to expand in rural areas that will bring in revenue. We're also looking at the fact that at the last board meeting, there was a tax exemption, which I don't know the specifics, but there was a 15-point-odd million tax exemption for a well-established company here. So if we're able to give tax exemptions, then we need to invest in our cities. We need to know exactly the specifics of what's going on, how many other companies are getting tax exemptions, if any at all, and we need to support our city with more jobs. Thank you.
We as Water Valley, using every available entity that we have available to us, such as our city, our county, our officials, all of our officials, our Main Street Association, Chamber of Commerce, we need to reach out to every available source and bring a lucrative business to our town. We need to strive hard to create a town that can offer our offspring a future. But in order to do this, we got to have a unity in all the groups. They all got to work together. They got to be all on the same page, so that the business that we do bring into Water Valley will create a lucrative business here. Okay. We need to put plans in place to bring business into Water Valley to increase our revenue base. We need to have to derive a plan to entice new business growth, whether large or small. And we're making strides at that to entice new business to come into Water Valley. We will offer any support that we're allowed to do to get the business here. Depending on the business is how much funding the town will be able to invest or possible tax reliefs or whatever we're legally able to do to bring that business here. If current revenue sources are not adequate to bring personnel staffing levels to an adequate level, what are we going to do? Okay. First of all, if I am elected mayor, I'm going to request a state audit. Now, why would I request a state audit? Because if I became mayor, I would not want anything on my back to come to me later. And that will tell me exactly how much funds that I have to work with and how I can appropriate it to the best of best for this city, okay? I would review all costs of the city, labor, electricity, wastewater, general upkeep, not counting needed upgrades, okay? We need to know where we stand, and I don't believe anybody in this room can honestly, except maybe the alderman, tell me where we're at today to the meeting, okay? So, and then I would research other areas of Mississippi with about the same area, same population, and issues that we have to derive at an adequate staffing level with appropriate pay. Yes, it cannot produce the funds any other way. A tax increase would be an alternative to get the needs to be done in Water Valley. Thank you.
Mick and I are getting old, we can't remember. I had to ask you which question we were on. You know, they kind of run together. You know. I believe we were talking about plans to bring their business to Water Valley. I believe that's where we are.
That's correct.
All right. Okay, of course, kind of continuing what we're doing right now, but with, you know, a little more emphasis on some things. Working with locally, of course, our County Economic Development Foundation and our county supervisors have a real good working relationship, because what benefits one part of the county benefits every part of the county. You know, I'm running for mayor of Water Valley, not mayor of Yellow Bush County, but again, I think we have to work together. And again, those jobs that are being created in the west part of our county, you know, going to bring tax dollars into Yellow Bush and into Water Valley also. So the local, we need to work with our local Economic Development Foundation, the Board of Supervisors. You know, Mr. Bob Tyler does a wonderful job. I don't think there's you can't throw a dart in the map, and if it ever hit, he knows somebody in that town. He's an amazing man. And on the regional, you know, we have a membership in the North Mississippi Development Association. We kind of pay our dues to them. That's kind of somewhat also through Tennessee Valley Authority. Both of those entities maintain a search continually of businesses that want to relocate for whatever reason. And they notify us as to a business that might have an interest in relocating. And so our membership in those on a regional area, you know, gives us information that we wouldn't obtain any other way. And we do pay our membership dues from the city to those entities, but it's well worth it. The North Central Planning Development District is another kind of local area that runs kind of right on, and a few counties are in that little group there. And of course, on the state level, we have the Mississippi Development Authority, or the MDA. Have to tip my hat to Mickey and Main Street. Mickey's done a wonderful job on Main Street, folks. And then since they say, hey, just because he's running for mayor, he's done a wonderful job of promoting Water Valley. So that has brought business in, you know, through the Main Street. I recently, I suppose last week, maybe earlier this week, days run together, met with Mr. Ed Thomas, who is one of the executives of the Allied Group, which is the small industry right across from Board Warning. That's a city-owned building, and he had flown in from New Jersey and not realizing our mayor had retired, and wanted to discuss some possibilities about maybe an expansion down there. Of course, my first question to him was, how many jobs will that mean? Because if we're going to put some, you know, skin in the game, it needs to benefit our town. They do pay us rent on that building. I couldn't believe they've been there 5 years now. But again, I hope they do expand, and I hope that, you know, it will bring some jobs in. Tax increase, boy, that's a dirty word, isn't it? I believe that if we can grow our economy, our tax base will increase enough without increasing taxes. Talking to someone yesterday, he said he didn't mind paying his fair share, but his fair share sure increased this year. As y'all all probably know, if you get your tax bills from the county and city, the assessments increased this year. So whether or not we increase taxes, your taxes are going to increase a little bit this year. Just from the overall property assessments. And they did, that's run in the paper every year, they did increase. We kept our millage at the same, which, if we would have reduced, it would have maybe lowered taxes. But again, we have a lot of needs in this town. So, I suppose the property taxes are going to be higher this year. We realize that. But we do have to maintain what we have, and we have to grow. But again, businesses, the more business we have, of options. Ours for years, 1/12 of theirs. In other words, every month they bring in what we bring in a year. So we do have to grow our economy, so we won't have to increase taxes. If we had to increase taxes, I would do it kicking and screaming, so to speak. But that's not just the mayor's decision. I would get to look at these aldermen and say, hey, y'all did that. Thank you.
This actually is my favorite question. It's the local economy. I think that's where I'm strongest. Let me talk about taxes first. In terms of property taxes, you take a percentage. The city takes a percentage of your property taxes, and that percentage should remain the same. Now, if your property increases in value, you will pay more, but essentially the percentage will stay the same. We have to work within a budget. Everybody has to work within a budget. And they can ask for a certain percentage, but they can't ask for increases. And I feel right now that the budget is actually, thanks to Mayor Hart, in really good shape. But let's talk about the budget for a second. The budget has increased in the last decade. The city budget a decade ago was a little bit over $2 million, and most recently, the last budget published was a little bit over $3 million. How did this increase happen? The increase happened from retail sales, by local, downtown merchants coming back, sales being made in Water Valley. That's what increased the budget. And also, the majority of that budget comes from increase in property values. And here's what's happened downtown. Commercial real estate in the last decade has gone from an average of $20 a square foot sold to $70 a square foot. We recently had a building on Main Street that sold for $110 a square foot. Nobody else in Mississippi, with the exception of Oxford and Ocean Springs, is selling real estate that high now in Water Valley. It is in demand. And that is restored real estate. What's changed also in historic residential that surrounds is that the historic residential in value in the last decade has doubled. Go see the people in Bruce or Calhoun City or Pontotoc and ask them if the same things happen. It hasn't. That's because we've been working at it. And that's where the increase in revenue has come from. We're putting value back in the city, and that benefits all of us. But again, let's get back to the local economy. And we have an ace in a hole that I think we haven't talked about yet. That's Borg Warner. The CEO of Borg Warner, James Verrier, when he came here, the last time Borg expanded, said he believed in Water Valley and that he, as a young engineer, he's an Englishman, came here and really got an insight into the way America works. And he has a soft heart, soft place in his heart for this particular town. We don't know if it's going to last forever. He looked healthy, okay? But, and we hope Borg stays for a long, long time. But here's what we really need to do. We need to reach out. And we need to reach out, and we haven't been doing that as effectively. Now, Bob Tyler is the Economic County Director, and I have been Bob's driver on numerous trips to Jackson. And we've gone to the Capitol, and I can tell you, the county is getting a deal, because when Bob walks into the Capitol, it's like walking into a building with Mick Jagger. He is really a rock star. It's unbelievable. And so Bob has been doing a terrific job, but Bob, frankly, has not been supported to the extent that other counties support their economic development. Just go over to Panola, you look at what Panola Partnerships has done, the businesses they bring in. The gold standard in the state of Mississippi right now is the link, and that is in the Golden Triangle, and that's the counties of Clay, Lowndes, and Tippahah. And Joe Max Higgins is the economic developer in charge of that. And he has brought in 6,000 jobs. Companies like Yokohama, Eurocopter, Navistar, they built big trucks, and really developed it. I want you to know that Clay County is was one of the poorest counties in the state of Mississippi. But what makes Joe Max Higgins able to sell that, and let me say something about Joe Max. I've talked with him, I've drank with him, and I've hung out with him, and he's from Arkansas. He's working his butt off in Mississippi because he believes in the state, and he's really making a difference. But here's what Joe Max has. His ace in the hole is when he brings people in and says, we want you to move to this area. He's got 3 Main Street towns to show off: Starkville, Columbus, and West Point. Columbus, Mississippi has won the Great American Main Street Award. And my point is, if you're bringing somebody in and your downtown looks like death warmed over, it's a non-starter. You have to have a good, solid core in your downtown if you're going to entice people to come there and bring big money. And that's what we have done. And we need to reach out and really need to work hard with partners around here. And we've got role models, and we can do it.
Okay, this is the 4th question that was penned. Mr. Hervey will be the first to speak on it. County supervisors and the school board have primary control over the Water Valley School District. However, knowing that our children are our future, what initiatives would you as mayor undertake to enhance the educational experience for the students and assist the teachers and the staff?
As mayor, you have a partnership with the county officials and the board of supervisors, because education is an issue that every mayor must make a top priority in order to build the foundation for the future prosperity and quality of the life in Water Valley. When we protect kids, provide better schools and stronger neighborhoods, and prepare our future leaders, we are creating a better quality of life for our residents, and that's the responsibility of the mayor. Our goal, the citizens of Water Valley, city officials, and the mayor, is to create a strong community environment that supports better schools and students' achievement by using city services and resources. We work with our schools and education leaders to build a partnership that encourage excellence in the classroom and build neighborhoods that support academic success. As mayor, my responsibility to our community goes far beyond the traditional duties of police, fire, streets, and parks. This is much that a mayor can do. There is much, that a mayor can do outside the classroom to improve educational achievement inside the classroom. It appropriately includes preparing our next generation well to take their place in our community tomorrow. Our future depends on our success and our young residents. Build our community so that the foundation of our schools, which is the teachers, would want to be and be proud to live in Water Valley. Okay? As mayor, I would strive to establish a strong working relationship with the school district. And obviously, we are limited in some areas as far as city involvement as school board. We have an elected school board to handle the day-to-day business. That said, we need a strong working partnership between the school, county, and city. I think that the recent decision by the school board to utilize a committee that will include representatives from the city and the county and from the general public to plan for the future of our schools is a great but tremendous step forward. If elected, I would like to serve on this committee as a city representative. I understand that having successful schools is the very foundation for our community and our future. Now, what initiatives would you as mayor undertake to enhance the educational experience for the students? The second part of this answer is kind of difficult. This is tough. This is a tough one. So I'm not sure of the specific initiatives the city can do. The question also opens up a bigger issue. We need to be working together for the betterment of our community. In my opinion, the city has not done always a good job of being a team player. In recent years, we have seen a strong effort from the county to promote economic development, but it seems like the city has not always been on board. To be successful, we have to work together, and that will be my first priority, especially with the school. Okay. Thank you.
I think Mr. Rogers just said, first of all, we elect a school board. We try to hold them accountable. They hire a superintendent who they hold accountable. As far as what the mayor can do, we certainly would do anything within our powers to support the school system. But what it takes is, again, is a community. A lot of the kids need mentors. I know many of you probably have maybe been guest speakers in some of the classes. I know I have, my colleagues over the years. We've gone and spoke to business classes and talked to them about insurance. And I remember back to when I was graduating and going out to the real world. I interviewed with a nun that was I call him headmaster, I don't know what the official title of Catholic school down in Natchez. And she told me, she said, don't tell me about all these degrees you got and that you're in education major, because they don't mean anything. She said, the person that teaches my business class is CPA. Do you think it's any better person teaching? I said, no, ma'am. And that's kind of what we need. We need to be involved individually. Government can't just solve all of our problems. I wish it could, but it won't, never has, never will. The more government has been involved in public education, the worse it's become. Again, I taught in it for 6 years. I have a son that's in his 6th year. Unfortunately, he's not in this town, even though he did interview here. Seems like it's kind of hard for local people to get jobs in our school system. I hate to say that sometimes, but it is. But we can be the mentors. Mayor, Baldwin, our citizens, volunteer. If you're asked to do something, or if you're not asked, volunteer your services. The elementary school, they're always begging for people to come read with children. Just little things like that. That's not government, folks. That's the citizens working together to improve our schools. Committees, that's great. They kind of fell by the wayside. Some 20, I think back to how my oldest son is. Years ago, I served on a committee at the elementary school. We made a lot of suggestions. Some of them they took, some they didn't. But again, I know they are limited. The budgets have been cut statewide. Money's scarce in schools. Teachers, you tip your hat to them. Folks, they got a hard job. They really do. I would be willing as mayor, again, to do anything that I'm asked to do to support our schools, because those children are our future. They are our future. Two of my sons have already moved away from this town, and I wish they were here. I have one more, who knows where he'll go. So, you know, we have to provide jobs. They have to get that education and training for those jobs. Thanks.
So let me talk about education. That's the reason I'm actually here. I was a teacher in a former life, and I have a teaching degree in social studies education from southeastern Oklahoma State. And I've taught overseas in Ankara, Turkey, at an international baccalaureate program. I was part of the startup staff. If you don't know IB, it's a very intense high school program. And it's located, associated with the university in Turkey. I taught in Oklahoma, and I also taught in Mississippi at South Pontotoc. And so I have a range of teaching experience. My wife is a teacher. She's a professor at the University of Mississippi. That's why we're here. When we got married, I made a deal. Sometimes you live with your deals and you live to regret them. But I said, wherever you find a job, I think I'm capable enough to go wherever and do good work. You get the job and I'll go with you. And so that has taken us overseas to Turkey, it's taken us to Oklahoma, it's put us in Germany a lot of time, and it's also brought us here. And we've been here since 1999, 3 years in Oxford, and since '02 in Fort Valley. And it's all because of education. That's why we're here. We believe educating young people is an important thing. It's probably the most important thing you can do in your life. We had a recent experience with the Water Valley High School. My niece, Clara Hippach, is German, and she came over and she did an exchange year. And she's a sophomore at Water Valley High School. And in typical German arrogance, she thought it was going to be a breeze, and it wasn't. Water Valley High School made her work. So I will tell you this, having been an educator and having recent experience working with students in the high school, we have a good high school. We've got good people working right there, and they need all the help they can get. So let me talk about the schools and what we can do as city government for the school system. First thing we can do is a little bit of infrastructure work. You know, if your kids are going to school, guess what? They're going to walk in the street. They can't ride their bicycle, and they can't walk on the sidewalk. There are no sidewalks going to the high school. And frankly, there are really a lot of grants out there for safe sidewalks to schools. I think a lot of kids could walk or bicycle. I think enough where we could take a bus offline, and the money that would be saved for the bus, we could put to other purposes. I think kids would rather walk and ride their bikes. Currently, I don't see anybody riding a bike in high school. The other thing that the city has to do, and it's something that we really haven't been doing, is really advocate for education. If you're in a leadership position here in the city, you know what? Guess what? Show up for the board meetings and see what's going on. Talk to the people that are on board, talk with the superintendent, talk with the principal, talk with students. And that's what I did just recently. And I posed this very question to some of Clara's classmates still in school, people that were juniors and seniors and are looking for jobs and working. Some of them work at the BTC. They told me a few things. I'll tell you later. But here's what kids want. They want some kind of program where they can have an apprenticeship or mentorship, or they can do something after school. They want to learn how to work, and they want to work with people, and they want to work with adults. And one of the kids said to me, listen, I'll cut grass with the people for the city. I just want to do something. But really, I think there's an inroad there where you could put kids in, I'm talking about juniors and seniors in high school, and show them what it's like to work. There really is a desire there, and that's something that we could do. Something that's already going on that we could increase, and Main Street has already worked with two things at the high school. We've worked with the Beta Club and had them help us do downtown projects. We've also worked with a program that the school has done very well in the past, which is Poetry Out Loud. There's another program in the school called the FCCLA, and it's an acronym for Family, Career, Community Leadership of America. The city could certainly work with that and support that. And there's a robotics team, and somehow I think the city could work with the robotics team. If you've seen these kids in action, they've really done a tremendous job, and that should be supported and encouraged. Something that I did when I was in high school, and I think the world was good for me, and something that is in Mississippi but not here that we could bring is junior achievement. Now, if you don't know what junior achievement is, it's taking high school juniors and seniors and getting them to meet once or twice a week and form companies and create small businesses throughout their school year and actually start a business, work it through the year, at the end of the year, liquidate it. I was involved with it for 2 years when I was in high school, and frankly, it was one of the best things for me. And that's something that we're not doing here. Something else I'd like to talk about is adult education, and that is leadership development. And that's something that we're not doing here, we really need to do. I'd like to point out that I'm the third youngest man on this panel, but I'm 58 years old. We really need to develop young leadership. It's very important. And we've been doing that with Main Street, and we've had some leaders here who've gone on state level work. Kagan Coughlin is now on the state Main Street board, and that's a board that controls, oversees, I should say, 52 cities in Mississippi. One of the best trips that I ever took was with Tyler Hill, who's in the back room, and we went to a program that was put on by Mississippi State, by the Stennis Center, called Your Town. And it was a 3-day event. Remember right, Tyler? 2 nights. And this was a program that really trained people to go back to their towns and really look and really work for something. And when Tyler came back, he was on fire. And I largely credit his energy for really lighting the fire under the chamber and making the chamber really, I think, snap to attention and do a lot of great things recently. And that's basically, you have to go out and you have to train that. We don't have that kind of thing. We don't have that kind of leadership training for young adults. And many towns in the state have that. And I think for us to grow in the future, that is absolutely essential.
As a youth advocator, mentor, and program designer and a previous teacher, this is one thing that is really next to my heart. For whoever is going to be mayor, you have to have a strong mind as well as the heart and love for people and children in general. In order to help the students as well as the parents, is before and after school program. The reason before and after school programs is a lot of parents have gotten older and the textbooks change. And when our kids are not understanding, there needs someone there that's able to explain the detail of the new work, such as the math. I get a lot of people to call me to ask them to help their children with math. But saying that is to say, when we help it on the outside of the school, before and after school program, when the children get to school, and the teacher can't just focus on one individual or 3 people, that would be favoritism, but they have to focus on the whole class. And if we step in and do our job as volunteers, as retired teachers, as previous teachers, I've created a youth program called the Youth Vineyard in 2006. When we was housed on Calhoun Street next to the old Everdale location, which Mickey now owns the building. From 2006 to 2016, there was tons of youth that I came involved with, and the main thing that most of them lacked was more leadership. And some of these kids had 2 parents in the home. And we don't live in the old days like one parent is at home and the other parent is at work. We have moved on from that. So if we're able to implement intra-city youth programs on the outside of the schools, such as a youth center, I was raised and born here. I never been a part of an activity center here or a youth center that have programs, that create programs. That what motivated me to create programs and to implement them. And as a youth advocator, one of the things that is lacking here without youth is leadership, is mentorship, and there are people who have the heart and desire to do it, but the parents can't afford the service, and a lot of citizens can't afford to do it for free. So if we're able to go into the school where we can come before and after, and our tax dollars is paying for the school anyway, and if we have volunteers that's willing to come in, that's going to help aid the teachers as well as some of our parents. And if our youth have somewhere to go after school, that also eliminate criminal activities, it helps eliminate pregnancy, it helps eliminate a lot of things that we look into our community and we ask what is wrong with our generation now. And what is wrong with our generations now is a lot of us not doing our part, and we can do more. That would be my plan. Thank you.
Okay. The fifth and final question is an open question to the candidates, and it's simply this. Why should the voters elect you mayor of Water Valley on December 19th? We'll start with that one.
Why she should elect me mayor? First thing I'll say is experience. I have experience of working with our government for the last 8+ years as alderman at large. I've helped in the budgeting process and every area of our local government. But not only the experience I've had as serving on the board, but I've got a little skin in the game for this town also. I started to work up here 34 years ago and then moved up here some 30 years ago. During that time period, I've served in a lot of areas. I've always been very active in my church. I always will be. I am a Christian, and I make no apologies for that. And I've always placed my God first, my family second, and anything else has to fall behind that. I will never compromise that. So I've always been active in my churches wherever I've been. I served on the Chamber of Commerce Board. I served on the first Economic Development Board, which then later, under Lee and some others, turned into the county-wide board. And I was one of the first members of that. I was president of the Magnolia Youth League doing the planning and construction of the Crawford Complex. Now, I'm not taking all the credit for that, believe me. It is took a lot of work in that. They are hard at that time. The Crawford family, Mr. Brown and Crawford, I'm starting naming names and probably forget somebody, but Mr. Crip Tyler, who was a great mentor to me and a lot of young people in this town, Dr. Joe Walker. I could go on and on and on and serve on that board. Mechanics Bank came through, the funds, and Coach Bob Tyler. Man, he got grants for us and helped us, and we built this complex, and I think we all can be proud of. All my children have, some of them didn't get to play in it, but others did, and it's an asset to our community. Many of you probably enjoy walking on the walking track and things like that. It's a great asset. I'm past president of the Water Valley Rotary Club. Also past president of an association called Life Underwriters, which is not just here in Water Valley, but it encompasses about 4 different counties. It's a professional organization. So I have some skin in the game. I've been involved in a lot of activities in this community over the years. Not only my experience in the government and the day-to-day operation of this town. A board meeting, which most people see, is the easiest part of being a mayor. I mean, you just preside. I mean, that's pretty easy. But the day-to-day dealing with all of our different departments, even in this time of, quote, acting mayor, or whatever you want to call it, meeting with different department heads, just about every day, not just about every day, I've talked to at least one department head about some type of problem, or some situation, Or, again, the interviewing, I have this person I want to interview, or maybe I have this person I don't want to work for us anymore. So the day-to-day operations, I have over the 8 years and then during this time, I've built a good relationship with our department heads. It's a trust issue. I trust them to do the job that we require them to do, and they trust me and our board to back them up if we need to. Now, there are, again, we've talked about a lot of different things that need improvement in this town. I know that. You know, you have to stick your head in the sand not to know that. And one of the things, we do need all of our departments fully staffed. And we are working on that. We're giving our department heads a little more leeway in taking control of their departments and managing their departments. I'm not taking credit for that. This new board that we have, they've been innovative and creative, and but I work with them, and I want to continue to work with them. I am a person that can meet and respect anyone until you disappoint. I don't prejudge you. I hope you don't prejudge me. You know, sometimes the street talk that you hear, so-and-so said this. No, I will never talk about any of these men. If any of these men are mayor, I will support them 100% because they will be my mayor. But I am asking you to make me your next mayor. Again, I think with the experience that I've had, we can continue to build on what we've already started, and we can make our town better. But it's not just the mayor, folks. It's everybody in this room that's got to work together. I told y'all to start with. I don't care if you've been here 1 month, 90 years. You're a Water Valley if you chose to invest here. Not just inside our city. So many of the people on the outlying areas say, but I have a business there. You know, I have a voice. If I'm mayor, they have a voice because they do have it. And a lot of our investments are coming from outside our city limits. The mayor will be their mayor also. You have to listen to them. You have to have that open door. And I will always have that open door. I may not always agree with you, but I will listen to you and I will respect your opinion because you have that right to that opinion, as I have the right to my opinions. So again, I would ask that you consider me prayerfully as your next mayor. Thank you.
It's a big ask. Ask, not ask. Ask. It's a big ask. I'm sorry for the accent. And maybe that's part of the problem is because I don't have the local accent. You know, I grew up in New Orleans, and I lived there the first 35 years of my life, and since then I've lived in other places. But to come to a town and ask people to vote for you for mayor when you're not from there, it's a big ask. It's a big ask. I'm not saying that right away. It's a big ask for that. And you know, the thing too is it's a big leap of faith because I don't go to church here. I'm Catholic. I grew up Catholic. I was an altar boy. And so it's a large leap of faith. Even though this country did it 57 years ago when they elected John Kennedy, there aren't many Catholics. We are a minority, a Christian minority in North Mississippi. But I'm Catholic, and so that's a big ask, especially in a town that has so many churches and where church is so important. And frankly, I think that's also very important. You didn't grow up with me. You don't know my family. I didn't go to school with you. You really don't know my background. I showed up here in my 40s, and frankly, I've been a public figure because I've been your Main Street director for the last 10 years, and I started that at 48. I had a whole life before that, which a lot of you don't know about. So it's a big ask. But I am asking it. And I would ask you to judge me on the effort that's happened here and the results. That's what I'm asking you to judge. And I think if you look at the effort, you look at the results, where we were, where we've gone, where we could go, I think you'll consider voting for me. And that's what I'm going to ask you. Thank you.
I'm going to ask for your vote because this city needs someone strong, determined, full of energy, willing to work. And I have been an advocate for diversity here in the city since I've been here. Mickey spoke of minority and his experience. This city was created in the 1800s. I have been the first African American to have ran for this position, and my skin color has been a problem for some. So I ask you to not judge me due to my skin color, judge me due to the involvement that I have had with the rainbow of people here in this city. The programs I have helped many created, the programs that I have created, me being a business owner here. And not only that, a few months ago in May, when we began to start this mayor race, I didn't decide to run for alderman or alderman at large. I decided to run for mayor. That should show you where my heart is. I decided to sit at home and complain about what was going on in the city. I decided to run for mayor because that's what my heart desired. I'm here again because my heart still desires to be mayor for a change for our community, each individual that live in our city. We need someone that can relate to all people. We need someone who looks at all streets, our houses, all trailers that have been a main issue here among the citizens. We need to figure out a way to work together, not offend anyone, and someone that can relate to someone across the board. We need someone that is able to go to Washington or go to Louisiana and get businesses to come in. Someone that is able to relate to all people. Someone who loves people. Someone who loves the city of Water Valley. I ask you to vote for me on those. Thank you.
Okay, guess this is the final one, right? Okay. First of all, I'll let you know that like Donald Gray, I am a Christian. And don't regret that at all. My first is to the Lord, second to my family, and then the third will be the Water Valley. But I'm highly involved in the church. I'm an adult Sunday school teacher. I am a chairperson for the board of directors for our church. And so I do heavily agree with that. Okay. Now, and again, I will say this: Water Valley needs a strong leader. And if anybody knows me, that's been around me for the last 30-something years that I've been in Yellow Bush County or Yellow Bush Water Valley, that I'm a straightforward person. I tell you just like it is. I won't lie to you, good or bad, because I feel like that you would rather hear the bad than me tell you a lie. That's not going to happen with me, guaranteed. Never has, and it never will. I will be a straightforward person. So that's what you need as a good leader that will be that way, that knows how to lead. And I feel like I am. I had my first lead position when I was very young. I started in an industry called Holly Carburetor. I don't know if anybody remembers that or not, right? But in 1970, I took my first lead position 3 months after I started, and I was 18 years old. And I've been a leader ever since in every position that I have held throughout my years, okay? I've been trained in many areas that affect the city. the infrastructure such as the water, the wastewater, the electrical. I have a great knowledge and can speak the language. And being, I think there's an engineer in here, he understands what it means by speaking the language. Electricians has a certain language. Technicians, engineers has certain languages. I understand and I can talk your language. I've been involved in many emergency situations, tornadoes, wrecks, house fires. There's been one, I've been here, most every one in Water Valley for the last 25 years. Ambulance driver. I've started the first responder program in Yellow County. That's where you train your medical persons to assist before the ambulance gets there. I started that program, and it's been a good program. And why do we do that? Or why would I even want to do that? Number one is I have love for people. And I have a love for the people in Yellow County and Water Valley. That's why I'm here. For the last 3 decades, I've worked at Holly, War Warner. I'm now at Agent Mayoral Windsor, and served as a volunteer first responder in this city and county for over nearly 30 years. My involvement in the community and training has given me strong insight into your concerns and expectations for the city of Water Valley. I am running for mayor because I believe we can do better. I know in my heart that we can do better. Like economic development, it is essential for our city to work to attract new businesses and industries while supporting the existing businesses that we have. This cannot be done successfully unless we work with all available organizations in a cooperative effort. Our city leaders must work collectively with our county officials, our Main Street Association, as well as the Chamber of Commerce and any other entity that we can pull into this program. We cannot afford to go at it alone any longer. Okay? We must give our existing businesses the tools they need to succeed. City government must support our locally owned businesses that contribute so much to our community. Another thing in the economic development, we need a culture change, okay? We as Water Valley citizens needs to understand that it is part of our responsibility to support our businesses that we have here in Water Valley. And take this for just a small example. There's items in Water Valley that you can purchase, that you can also purchase at Walmart just a little bit cheaper. But if you actually put the math to it and figured your cost of gas to get to Walmart, the wear and tear on your vehicle, the time that you spent there, and most likely you're going to eat there while you're there because you've been there for a while. Count up the dollars that you could have put into our community by paying 50 cents more for the item that you drove the auction for. So, you see, that's a culture change that we got to realize that for the unity of Water Valley, we need to all come together and try to make this town what we want it to be. Okay? Just think on that. Okay? Investing in our workforce. Our community is blessed to have dedicated city workers that need our help. The pay scale for these hard-working men and women is falling further and further behind what comparable cities pay. Many of our city workers have to work second and even third jobs to make ends meet. Our workforce is essential to our future, and we must provide adequate pay, proper training, and up-to-date equipment. Public service. There are many critical issues facing our community involving public services, and we must also address them. We need leadership and transparency to protect our citizens and shape our future. It is imperative that we invest in our fire department to ensure that our businesses and residents have the lowest possible fire rating, to keep insurance affordable and to protect our citizens. We are experiencing continuous turnover in our fire department, and not having adequate personnel could jeopardize our fire rating. But in the sense of the word too, it's also jeopardizing the safety of our community, where we don't have the adequate staff and the training that they need in order to fight a fire. Nobody knows it, but I've been a firefighter for 30 years. But until you're certified, you can't go into a structure fire. So we have people up there that's not certified that, yes, they considered a number as fire, but they're not. It's up to the volunteers then to go in and fight the fire if they are certified. We have a good volunteer base, and I'm proud of everyone. Okay. The police department also experiences high turnover and is working in an adequate office. It is time to take a serious look at the funding this department receives to ensure public safety is a top priority. Examples there. Our turnover rate for our police officers is so bad that I can honestly tell you some of them don't know where you live. If they give you an address, the police officer's got to figure out where you're at before he can get there. How much time is wasted? We don't need that. We need a sustainable fire department, a sustainable police department. I want them to know where you live. If I give them an address, I don't want them to go north when they should have went south. Okay? The city officials are not addressing abandoned homes, junky property, and other problems in our neighborhood. We have ordinances in effect that are not being enforced. There are numerous burned out houses that have been ignored for years. This affects our property values and quality of life. If our city officials aren't addressing current problems, how can we expect them to enforce existing ordinances for future projects in our community? We got to look at our ordinances. We have an ordinance, it needs to be enforced. Quality of life. We must invest in our youth to help them engage in our community and to have an opportunity to work and raise their families here when they graduate from high school or college. This is very important. Judy and I have 13 grandkids. There are 6 of them here, but others are away. We have 7 children. Only one of those children is able to work in Mayoral. All the others had to leave to find a good job. So that's very important to my heart, that I can bring or maybe help produce something for our future kids, that they have something here in Water Valley. More importantly, preserving the quality of life we all expect can only come from addressing these important issues our community faces. We simply can't afford to elect a leader that cannot see the whole picture and evaluate it, put plans in place, and accomplish the task put before it. We need a strong leader, and that's why you need me, Brother Rogers, for your mayor. Thank you.
Well, I wanted to clap a few times tonight. I'm sure y'all did too. So it's a big ask to have these guys come up here and do this. We really do appreciate it. Thank you, guys. We do have a little bit of time left before we close it out. I'd sure love to hear some questions from the audience. I first looked over here.
I have kind of a rude question. I don't suppose it takes a huge amount of money to run for an office in a small town, but I would like to know where their campaign funds came from each.
Sure. She was just wondering how each of you were able to fund your campaign.
I started funding mine 100% out of my pocket. I've had a few close friends that have made some small donations to my campaign, and I appreciate each one of them.
I've had friends and family and local people donate to me. We've raised several $1,000s. We're going to have a big party now. No, we put out a fundraising campaign and asked people to donate, and many did. Most of the people that have put in money live here, but not all of them. Frankly, my mother gave me some money. And my father too. I'm surprised he can still write a check. But anyway, that's where we've gotten the fund for. Of course, in the beginning, I tell you who's making out the best on this in my campaign is the Herald. But anyway, in the beginning, I wrote the checks and then I asked people for funds, and if they thought the candidacy had any value or any life, I guess that's an indication if you can raise money, people think that you can do the job, or at least they think maybe they're interested. So we have raised some money by asking people.
Well, since this was my second time around, I didn't want to ask anyone else for money, so I just wanted to mine 100% for myself.
I funded mine in the first go around 100%, and I funded mine the second go around 100%. And I had reasons for that. I had many friends that offered to help me with this campaign. But as I said earlier, I'm a straightforward person, and my beliefs are that if you give me money, I owe it back to you in return. So therefore, I would not take any donations or anything, because that way, if I am mayor, I'm going in there with a free heart that I don't owe anybody nothing.
It seems like sometimes in the past there have been different ways of applying the same rules towards different types of people. If there is a rule, a legal thing, would you enforce it equally, regardless of whether or not the person went to your church or was your friend?
Across the board.
Across the board.
Absolutely. Everyone's equal in God's eyes. Everyone's equal under the law. I was one, even when my kids got in trouble at school, the teacher was right, you was wrong, you take the punishment. We just had a little incident that I would have loved to have said yes to here in the city, to done a favor, but that favor was on private property. Department head called me, what's the policy say? And he said, we can't do it. I said, don't do it. So, yes, you can't play favorites, period.
I second that. You can't play favorites. My father was a police officer for 53 years. And he said if the evidence said they're not guilty, you let them go. But if they did the crime, you bust them. And it's that simple. And so that's the way it works. Everybody's equal treatment before the law. And that's why we're all in this together. And if that's not happening, then that's a real problem in this town.
Being a part of Fort Hood military base in my 10+ years in law enforcement experience, we're trying to go directly by the book, what is written down in black and white. So if it's there, that's what I do. I go by that.
I've been an environmental safety and manager for nearly 20 years. I wrote many policies and procedures. And the purpose of these policies and procedures is to keep everybody honest. So if we have a policy and we have a procedure, we will follow that procedure to the T.
For favorites and unfavorites, people you might not like or agree with.
That's right. Everybody's equal.
Sure.
I would like for each county to give us like a, work, like where their resume would be written out, like, you know, from year to year, what kind of jobs they've had that would qualify them to be mayor of our town, you know, like if you worked in Warren, like you said, so many years and did what you did, what work you did. And the different type to run a whole city, not just one section of anything, and where their degree is in like accounting or business, or what that would help them to know figures and get grants and all, and from what college or university.
Sure. Crib notes, resume.
Let her start, Lou, I hate to be the
Sure.
first one to respond to that.
Okay, I'll just kind of give you a history. I started at Holly Carburetor in 1970. And like I said, I took my first lead job 3 months thereafter. In doing so, with the career that I had with those, my last position there, I've been a computer technician, I've been a foreman, I've been a maintenance man, but my last one was electronics technician, a salary position over there. But what that entailed was that you had to learn the business, how to do a business. Okay, so that plant closed in '87. Carburetors went out, fuel injection came in. So I watched the town die when a major industry of 800 people closed. I had a business alone that I ended up closing because I got a call from Water Valley asking me if I would be interested in a position down here at the end of '87, which I was, and I'm so grateful that I came to Water Valley. It was Cotec at the time, it wasn't Little Warren at that time, but I was a maintenance man there, and during that period of time, I became involved in the fire department. A little town outside of town called Belmont. And in doing so, when I started that fire department, the first meeting I went to was 3 people there. Said, you can't run a fire department with 3 people. So I started getting out and recruiting people. So I built that station. I was chief for 26 years at a volunteer station and kept the same firemen for 26 years. The ones that were with me when I started are still with me. Okay. You don't know my age? But anyway, during this meantime, I will also work with Warren at the same time. But the initiative that I have that I want to show you is that being a chief, I didn't have much experience in that area. So in order to be chief, I went to the State Fire Academy and took every class that I could to be chief, because I'm not satisfied with being just chief. I got to be the best chief. Or that's in my eyes. I got to be the best. Okay. And I feel like I accomplished that. That I was a good chief, because every year when it come election time, there was really no election. They said, no, we're good with you. Just keep on going and doing what you're doing. Okay. So that shows where you got to be at. You got to be on top. I'm not going to be on the bottom. Never have and never will. I'm going to be on top.
So your career's been on the Coke company down there and the Thelma Fire Department.
And EMS driver, civil defense.
Do you have years of time, or was it just?
Oh, I got 43 years with Bull Run. I left Bull Warren for a manager's position at Ajinomoto Windsor and used to be the lead. I am a staff level manager, highly involved in the restructuring of the plant and the expansion that we have. We have employed a little over 250 employees since I've been there. Our pay rates has increased, so we're doing good. And, I think parts of my experience there would help me as a manager and be a good leader.
You're still there?
I am still there.
Well, I see we're losing a few people, so I'm gonna get some bullet points and move on to the next person. But I study at the University of Iowa. My job experience, well, God have blessed me to be able to do a lot of different things, but my 10+ years came in law enforcement. Another 11 to 12 years have been in teaching as well as counseling. When I relocated back here to my home, there was no jobs in my field, so I worked in Memphis at the youth vineyard. I mean, not the youth vineyard, it's my organization. A youth organization in Memphis where I worked with social behavior kids as a counselor. My law enforcement gives me the experience of enforcing laws, as one of the questions that you asked. My counseling experience gives me the ability to talk to any race, any gender, anyone across the board. So those are my bullet points.
What
Okay.
was your degree in University?
I study criminal justice as well as theater, so I'm also a director.
Environmental health and safety.
I didn't start working as early as Herbie. I started in 1971, but I was 12. And my first job was working the back deck of a shrimp boat, which I worked for 20 years, Joy. And shrimp boat, yeah. Out in the water catching shrimp, Gulf of Mexico. And I did it as a kid. It's seasonal work. It's a lot like farming. When it's on, you work really hard. And when it's off, you just have a lot of shrimp. So I did that for 10 years working the back deck of the boat. And then for another 10 years, I ran the boat in seasonal work. But at the same time, I was doing other stuff too. I was going to school, and I went to a Catholic high school in New Orleans, and then I went to the University of New Orleans where I was an English major, which is an utterly worthless career choice. But while it helps me write, though. And what I did at the same time was work on cars. So for many years, I've worked in car dealerships, and I've worked for Mercedes-Benz, I've worked for Cadillac, I've worked for Chevrolet. For a number of years, I ran a Porsche dealership body shop in New Orleans, and I've run shop floors. I ran a parts house for a number of years. I had 12 people working underneath me. I didn't own the business, but I was in charge of it. And then I moved out to Oklahoma, got another college degree in education, and also continued to work in the car business. Sometimes you have to pay the bills. And I worked for a Cadillac dealership. And so I have an ASE Master Technician certification. I've been trained by General Motors. It's a technical skill I have, and it comes in handy if you happen to have an old Cadillac.
You have a lot of those old junky cars.
Easy
They
now.
heard Johnson's gonna come back and they put that fence up.
Easy now. I only buy cars with 3 figures. If they have more than 4 figures in price, I don't buy them. But I keep them running. And so I got a degree from Oklahoma State in social studies education, and I did teach. I taught overseas, taught in Oklahoma, and I've taught here.
How many years did you teach?
Altogether 3. It's a
I knew
working
you
job.
told me you taught in 7 states. I just wanted to.
7 states.
That's what he told me. Up at my house when he came here, he told me to come to 7 states.
No,
She don't hear well.
2 states, 1 country. And Joy's curious because she thinks that just popped up out of nowhere, and I'm probably in the witness protection program. And I made the point to her, I said, okay, how long have you been out of Water Valley? And she said 49 years, is that correct? And so that means you lived in Water Valley up to the point you were about 20?
No,
Longer?
younger.
Younger, okay. So I would suggest to you that I have almost lived in Water Valley as much as you have.
But you haven't known Water Valley and kept up Water Valley for all those years.
That is quite true, that's quite true.
You've only kept up Main Street, see, I'm talking about the whole town, county, and state.
Donald just said I'm going to lose this one. I tell you what's most important, what happened to me is when early on, my father had a bunch of old houses in New Orleans, and he has 3 sons, and he looked upon them as free labor. And so quite often, we worked on old houses, very old houses in New Orleans, and we got in position. And that developed in me a preservation ethic. And that preservation ethic is what I have brought to this particular job and done as well. You understand the construction, how buildings work, how to bring things back, and the economic value that you can put back in the building and you can put back into a community. And I think that's my strongest point right there relative to Water Valley, irregardless of the fact that I can catch shrimp on an outgoing time.
A lot of people in Battle Natural might beat you on that.
Donald?
Oh, okay. Working for money or,
Where'd you go to school?
well, I was young as an 8 kid, so I milked cows when I was 13 years
You
old.
weren't
I'm
the
not
only
that
one.
old.
I think-
But, you know, then my brother, that's 2 years older than me, we cut grass, pushed lawnmower, and got $2 a yard back in those days, boy. And then I worked to do different summer programs. Trying to think what they used to call them, the government programs for kids that you could work during the summer. I worked several of those, ASCS and different ones. Graduated from Caulfield High School on a Monday night and went to work for Kelwood Tuesday morning, worked that summer, made enough money to pay my tuition to Northwest Mississippi Junior College at that time. Worked at Chrome Craft at night while I was at Northwest Junior College. Came home that first summer and worked construction with a guy, and then went back to Northwest, finished Northwest, went to Mississippi State, made the best pizza in Starkville, carried out pizzas, painted for Mr. Dawkins, who was originally from Coffeyville, Mr. Tom Dawkins, maintained some of his apartments, got my degree from Mississippi State in 1977. Had interviewed and was planning to go teach in Meridian, Mississippi, and one of my former coaches and teachers called me and said, how would you like to come back and teach and coach in Coffeyville? And I said, well, I didn't know there was an opening. He said, well, I'm fixing to resign and go elsewhere. So I came and interviewed, coached and taught for 6 years in Coffeyville, painted for a living, taught and coached for fun back in those days. Miss Joy, you can appreciate that. We, in those days, teachers made about $400 a month, a little bit better maybe. But I painted houses on the side. Loved the coaching and teaching. Mr. John Ashford, many of y'all remember, came to see me, and I thought, oh, my insurance was expired. And he offered me a job at Farm Bureau. And I've been with Farm Bureau Insurance now for 34 years. I've loved every minute of it. I meet so many people. That's what I love doing. I mean, it's helping people, solving problems when we can, and just trying to take care of people's needs. And that's what I think.
We have time for one more question.
It's short.
Go ahead.
I'd like to know which candidates are planning on being full-time mayor.
Okay. Yeah, good question. We used to do how much time. Mayor Mayoral, we'll start with Terry.
From my understanding now, the position is part-time, so if they extend it full-time, I will accept full-time.
Nikki?
I took the Main Street job as a part-time position. When the economy hit the skids in 2009, Eddie Ray told me to sell everything, but I didn't listen to him. I should have taken his advice back then, but I didn't. And so I ended up taking the Main Street job on a year-by-year basis back in the very beginning of 2009. And it was a part-time job, I was on board. And I always felt that, let me work it full-time. Let me really work the job hard and attack it, and maybe something could happen. And we were working with really good people in the beginning, still are working with really good people, and we went at it. And I had a little bit of pride in that I was the lowest paid Main Street director in the entire state of Mississippi out of 52. And so I kind of wore that as a badge of honor. It was a part-time job, I wasn't being paid much, but I thought, you know, I can make a difference, everybody here wants to make a difference. And that's how I'm going to approach the mayor's job. It's a part-time job. It has been a part-time job. It's been a second job when people have had other businesses. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it full-time. We need a full-time mayor. We need somebody who shows up early in the morning and gets at that office and gets after it where it's priority number one. That's what this town needs. It's not a part-time town. We need a full-time mayor. I will be full-time.
I will be part-time. I have a kid in college, and the part-time position just simply does not pay enough to, pay the bills. So, but I will spend the amount of time that's needed to be mayor. Whether it be at night, early in the mornings. I'm an early morning person. I've been in the office, I can't tell you how many hours during this temporary period of time. I am fortunate enough that Farm Bureau allows me flex time. So I will be part-time though, but it is a part-time position.
In the beginning,
I have a question.
Oh, I'm so sorry, there was one more.
It won't be very long, you sunk like.
One more.
I'm sorry, just one more. Sorry.
in the beginning, I will also be part-time. When I chose to run for mayor, I talked with my staff there, and they made it very clear that I could arrange my hours to suit the needs that would allow me to do this job efficiently. So I do have that luxury of changing any type of hours, but as time goes on, I'm hoping to retire one of these days, one of these years, but in that time I will become full-time.
Yes, my question is, if one of you got to be the part-time mayor, how soon would you start getting rid of these neighborhoods with all these rundown houses that need to be pushed in?
We've already started that process.
Yeah, I'd like to address that. We have several aldermen here. I know. And meet the state statute. Now, other aldermen can't speak right now, but we are addressing that. Each alderman has turned in a list from their ward. Those lists will be dealt with, and there are ordinances on the book, and there's not going to be favoritism, and we're going to enforce those ordinances.
Because they've been worked on for the last 6 years.
No, ma'am, this is a whole new board,
All right,
and
they're looking for action.
it's going to happen. And when you start hearing complaints from your neighbors that we either got fined or something added, this is what the citizens want, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to clean up some properties.
Will y'all also enforce the leash law for dogs? Please.
Can I answer that? Sure. Like I said earlier, straightforward person, policies and procedures, and I believe in policies and procedures in the ordinance. If there's an ordinance written, they will be reviewed, and they will be enforced. End of story.
Conclude.
I have a quick one.
Sure.
Being in the financial world, I just wanted to ask, what experience do you bring to the table in dealing with a multi-million-dollar budget as our city has on the books right now, and balances and how to do it?
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, my experience as a supervisor at casino, I was responsible for balancing the daily budget of $250,000 to $500,000+ daily on a routine. However, I did not do the annual budget because I had a shift manager above me, but those are my financial experience.
You work here, same.
I did.
We can get that in your resume.
Bullet points, bullet points.
What you didn't get in my resume is also something that I did when I was in Oklahoma, which is I was a manager of a trucking company. It was a 100-truck company, and we ran all 48 states. And in the process of running that company, I hired, by the time I was there, 300 people. We did about $6 million a year. I was in charge of that. I opened up a new office in Elkhorn, Indiana. When the economy hit, that's what saved the company. They had too many eggs in one basket, and I said they had to diversify. So I've hired a lot of people. If you know anything about the trucking business, people quit on their own. You don't have to fire as many. But I have fired enough people. And I'll tell you this, managing people, if you've been a teacher, you have people management skills. And then with the trucking business, very strict federal regulations. You have to do that, otherwise they take your authority away. And of course, it's money, and there's a lot of money out there, and you have to deal with insurance, huge liability issues, and there's a tremendous payroll to make every week. And so I did that for a number of years.
Yes, Farm Bureau, we deal with a little over $3 million book of business. I personally manage over $2 million of that. You know, insurance laws very strict. So we have to follow those to a T. Our local office, of course, is a small budget compared to the Farm Bureau budget overall. But we do the budgeting through our office and through our company. And like I said, I manage about $2 million.
Working in a multi-million-dollar business such as Bull Warner and Mayoral Windsor, all the way through my years, I had to sit in on the budget board and create the budgets for my departments, which is usually a high-end budget, maintenance and electronics, computer people. But now, even in the environmental and health and safety realm, the budget is pretty strict. So I deal with the budgets every year.
Well, let's hear it for our candidates again. And again, thank you all for coming out. We so